throwing is because, well, the rule says hand, it says placed, okay? So if I'm 3 feet away and I'm launching it, I'm taking 1 or 2 less steps that direction, 1 or 2 steps back. We had one team do this one year. They won by a landslide. Well, they were breaking the rules, all right? We want our hand over it. We're making sure that they don't jump the line early on the pass or the tag, okay? That's about the only way you can be disqualified. The last player, when they get it, goes straight in for their pin. If they've got the beanbag, they don't have to put it in the bucket. They just go straight in for the pin. All right, make sense? Okay. Rabbit hunt. There's an order that we go in, red, blue, green, yellow. You're going to have all your players in here, so you're going to have either your 10 or your 5 players in the center. All the other teams are on the circle. We're throwing a Nerf ball, all right, and it's not the Nerf ball that's got like the hard shell. This thing is like a sponge, okay? So headshots, they're fine. I mean, you could launch that thing out of a cannon and it's not going to hurt anybody. It's just a big sponge, okay? Where can your team, what things that can happen in this game? One is you got to have both feet behind the line when they're throwing. This is where most teams screw up. They think they hit 3 people or whatever, but their foot was over the line every time. The judges are watching their feet, okay? And if your feet are behind the line, when you throw or roll the ball, that's fine. If the ball is thrown legally behind the line and it hits one player, in the air, bounces, hits another, hits the floor, and another player kicks it, all 3 of them are out, all right? If the ball touches you, you're out. Hits you in the face, you're out, okay? You decide to help the teams on the outside and go over there and pick up the ball and throw it outside the circle, you're out. Make sense? If it touches you, you're out, all right? Any questions on that one? Nope, all right. Event number 6, Sparky Train. When I was a kid, it's called Crack the Whip, all right? We're using a pool noodle. Your 5 players are here. You're going to run 1 time around. The line judge is going to be inside the circle, kind of running with your kids. The only reason they're doing that is if your kids become detached, they're going to stop the team, say, everybody grab back on the pool noodle. When you finish the game, last player goes in for the pin. Makes sense? It's 1 lap, it's over quick. Dave?
And the pool noodles are 48 inches. So that's just because that happened to be what was on sale, and I can get them readily. If you need to have the Amazon part number, email me and I'll pull it up from my history and send it off to you. Otherwise, it's just basically the 48 inches, because there are some that are 60 and there are some that are...
Shorter pool noodles make it easier to store game equipment.
Yes, that's the issue for why they're 48 inches, and that's how much space I have.
All right, so pool noodles, last player goes in, they become detached, they should stop. If they don't, you got a line judge right there, and that will kind of try to get them to stop, to get them reconnected. Before, they used to have to hold on to belt loops and all this other stuff, and they always came disconnected. With the pool noodle, it helps out a lot that they don't come disconnected. All right, last Sparky game, balloon pop. All the players are going to be on the team line, all right? Last player is standing on that front line there with their both feet on it. The game starts, the balloon goes through everyone's legs, all right? The last player gets it. They pop the balloon by sitting on it, preferably inside their square. All right, the rules state inside the square, we're not going to enforce that, okay? We do ask that they sit on it. I'm not going to disqualify you if you sit on it and go like that, all right? But if all they do is they aren't even on the floor and they twist it and pop it, well, come on, all right? We want them to sit on it. Now, here's the thing that I noticed as a circuit director. Some kids don't hang on to the balloon when they're trying to sit on it. They just put it on the floor, leap into the air, and crash down on it. Well, sometimes the wind from their backside pushes the balloon out of the way and they just crash on their backside on the floor. So teach them to hold on to the balloon when they pounce on it with their backside. Make sense? 2 heats. If the balloon pops, the line judge has another balloon they're going to insert in at that point. If the second balloon pops, you're done. Make sense? That's the last Sparky game. So if you were here just for the Sparkies, we're all done with everything to do with Sparkies. And we'll jump right into TNT Trek Journey. You good? All right, thank you so much. All right. We're we're gonna talk about TNT Trek Journey games kind of in parallel, because a lot of the games are similar or the same, so we're just gonna push those together. So the very first game is Beanbag Relay for TNT, and for Trek Journey, it's basketball relay. So I'll talk about Beanbag Relay, and then I'll talk about basketball relay. So Beanbag Relay, you've got all your kids lined up. Now if you're Division II, that is 9 players on the line, 1 player in the middle, that's your 10 kids. If you're Division IV, it's 4 players on the line, 1 kid in the middle. All right, you throw the beanbag, goes back and forth to each one of them, they run around their pin. How can you get disqualified in this game? Well, the center player has to have at least 1 foot in that triangle. Doesn't have to be on the floor, just in the triangle when they're throwing and when they're catching. So in other words, if I throw it to Kelly, all right, and I'm the center person, I can step out of that thing, that triangle, jump all over the place, but when she throws it back and I catch it, I need to have 1 foot in that triangle, all right? The kids on the line, imagine, just tell them that alligators live in the middle, because they put any foot over that line, all right, they're disqualified. I prefer them not even put a hand over the line, and that line's not very wide, okay? If it falls in the middle, the center player can run out, grab it, come back, put their foot in the triangle, and then start throwing. Make sense? If it goes outside of your triangle at any point, game over, okay? The line judge is standing right here, and he's going to step, or she's going to step in front of you and say, I'm sorry, you're disqualified, and try to keep your kids out of the way of the other team so they don't accidentally interfere. What else? Oh, if I'm got 3 players in front of me, and I'm supposed to throw to this player, and I throw the next player in the line, that's fine, I can throw to them. They throw it back, I throw it back to the one I was supposed to, they throw it back, and I don't have to re-throw it to that person I did originally. I can throw it to the next one, all right? If they skip more than 1, if I jump down too far, kind of a thing, then you are disqualified. Does that make sense? If I don't
Go back.
If I don't go back right away, all right? Okay, for Trek and Journey, it's basketball relay. Both feet have to be in a square for basketball relay, all right? And both feet have to be in it the entire time until you get the last throw, okay? I throw it, right? Throw it first to this person, they throw it back, back and forth, back and forth. It's a throw and a catch, it's not a slap, okay? It's a throw, I catch it, I pass it back, all right? Gets to the last player, I throw it to them, they throw it back, I bounce it to them, they bounce it back. And it's a catch, not a slap back, all right? Goes through each time, go around, finish the game. Center person cannot take their feet outside there. If the ball lands out here in the middle, unlike TNT, you can't go retrieve it. You gotta wait for it to roll over to you, okay? If the center person steps out there, they're disqualified. If one of these people ever steps out, disqualified, all right?
Their feet are in the triangle and they reach over.
Yeah, but if their feet go outside that triangle, they step it, right? So it's unfortunate, but that's the way the rule's written. If the basketball goes outside the triangle, game's over, all right? Player here steps outside. In theory, they're done, okay? Player here steps into another area, you're done, okay? When they finish the game, they've got the basketball when they run around, they hit their touch pin. They need to maintain possession of their basketball. You touch the pin, the basketball goes flying off, it can interfere with another team that's still playing. You're disqualified, even though you were the first one to finish, okay? Because that basketball is loose. So tell them to hang on to that basketball. That's about it with that one. We start with girls first, and that's boys, and then it's the whole team. When it's the whole team, you usually have a boy in the middle. I don't think it's a requirement. All right? Next game, or next games, we're going to talk about running relays. All right? So we've got the sprint relay, the marathon relay, and the marathon medley. Depending on the age, it varies on how many players are in here, right? Older kids, it's 4. Marathon medley, I think it's a fantastic game. It's 2 boys, 2 girls, 1 lap, 2 lap, 3 lap, 4 lap. All right? And there's all sorts of participation rules depending on the team size. for this one for Division IV TNT teams. There's no age requirements who can be in these games. All right? You've got multiple players over here that are your second through anchor person. So if it's 4 people playing, you might have 3 of them over here. They have to be in their triangle, all right, when they receive it. So I'm going to show here the passing zone. This is for passing the baton. The thing that the judges look for is the baton, not the feet. So your 2 players are in there here. One of them receives that thing. I can have the baton across the line, but my feet are still in this other area, and that's legal. Okay? You can reach back over there and get that thing. Once the baton passes that, then the next player can grab it. Same thing when I'm leaving over here. I can be way over here with my feet and still have the baton back over that line. And the person I'm supposed to hand to is behind me now. They grab the thing. Does that make sense? So the judges are watching where that baton's at. If the baton ever goes outside of the square, in other words, flies out of their hand, goes outside the square, game's over. All right? People are seating or seated or whatever you want to call it outside the square. We don't want to be falling on top of them. Yes, Dave?
One thing that also comes up, I mean, disembodied voice, I'll pull up here. When the line judges were standing over in here looking at that pin. So if you contest a call because of something that happened here, that's not the pin we're looking at. And one of the things that I was often, that came up often enough, was the coach yelling, "It was right in front of you, didn't you see that?" Well, I'm actually looking at the pin over on the side. And so
the judge has the best view of that pin beforehand because they can see the gap between the pin and the player. Here, all they see is the player, right? But what's going to catch the one here is the coach that's down here, or the judge that's down here is going to see that. But if you have a problem, as a coach, you still talk to your line judge. They will come up, bring it to the circuit director. The circuit director will then bring in that other line judge and get the situation resolved, all right?
the other thing that also comes up is if it turns out that your player, if you say they jumped over the pin, or they came inside the pin, unless we know 100% sure as line judges that it happened.
Oh, that's one thing I forgot to say in line judge training.
Yeah, it was.
I forgot to say, if you're unsure, you don't make the call. All right.
You may talk to your circle director afterwards and say, I saw this, or you need to tell the coach, I think this is what happened, but I didn't see it for sure. There was one case where there was someone trying to pass in the things, and they sort of timed their thing and went probably to the inside of the pin. But from the angle I was at, I was 95 to 99% sure that they crossed the plane of the pin. I was not 100% sure. So I did tell the coach, by the way, I think your player jumped inside, but I couldn't tell. Potentially they could have been okay. So we let it go through. I told both coaches that were involved.
Yeah, it's fine. All right, so we have that passing zone, so we know that. And if your player steps outside, player over here, crosses over to this other zone, they're disqualified. Now again, that's TNT track journey. Sparkies, we're not going to enforce that on, but at TNT track journey levels, I mean, they should be able to understand that they could possibly interfere with another team by heading out of their zone. All right, so now here comes the part that everybody always seems to get upset about. It's called the passing rule. All right? And for those of you online, I apologize, it's probably very small print, but here we go. Passing rule applies to any running game, all right? And when I catch somebody, all right, which is never going to happen now because I'm not fast anymore, runner, but if for some unbeknown reason I actually caught the person in front of me and I can reach out and I tap them on the shoulder. I don't take my baton, I don't rap on them with the baton, I tap them with my hand. So if they're beating on them with a baton, your player does not have to yield. It's by the hand. I catch somebody, I touch them, all right? They have the pin they're going to plus one to yield that center lane to me, all right? So if I catch somebody, I tap them. I need to maintain that distance between them. I can't tap them and then ease up, all right? And suddenly now, instead of a 2-foot gap, it's a 5-foot gap, and as a coach is all upset because the kid didn't yield. Well, your player has to stay there, has to maintain that tight distance, tap them, and give them time to get out of the way. If they're gonna be handing off to their next player in a relay in just a few steps, they're not gonna yield, and they don't have to, okay? But they have to eventually move out of the way. They do not have to slow down. It just means yield that center area, or that inside curve, all right? Now here's the other thing where you can get disqualified, all right? I catch the person, I tap them, they never yield. They never move out of the way, okay? If I'm in the marathon and for 2 laps I can't get by them because they're swinging their arms all over the place, whatever, they're going to be disqualified when the game's done, all right? Another way it happens, if I catch somebody and I just stiff arm them and send them flying, okay? Seen it happen, it's not a lot of fun. So if I come up on somebody and I send them flying, I'm going to get disqualified.